UPSC Civil Services Preliminary Examination 2022 is just over. In this short video, we'll take a quick overview of the Civil Services Examination question paper. My first impression with respect to the paper is that I personally felt it much more difficult than last year, particularly General Studies Paper 1. Paper 2, which is popularly known as CSAT, was comparatively easy. The cutoff last year was 87.5 approximately out of 200. In this short video, I will give my personal opinion regarding the difficulty level of the paper, also a short analysis and further takeaways from this paper. Now let's have a quick look at each of the sections in General Studies Paper 1 and see what are the takeaways from this exam. The General Studies Paper 1, just like last year, was divided into different sections like history, geography, polity, economics, science and technology, environment and current affairs. These were the 7 areas mentioned in UPSC syllabus, and the question paper touched all 7 areas. But there is a slight difference when it compared to last year. The last year, each of these sections were divided in a sequential order, particularly with respect to version A. All sections followed the same sequence. So only after economy, the questions of polity started. So only after polity, questions from history started, like that. It was a pattern, at least in version A. This year, there was a slight change in the way questions were placed in the question paper. Of course, it still followed a sequential pattern, but I will explain how it was there in the paper. The initial 10 questions were with respect to one particular subject. For example, with respect to paper General Studies Paper 1, version A, the first section was economy. It was followed by polity. It was followed by science and technology. It was followed, that is the order in which the questions were phrased. So it was a block of 10 questions each. That is what I wanted to convey. But after, let's say, 50 or 60 questions, UPSC does not follow a typical pattern. It is more or less a shuffling kind of mechanism in which and how was the difficulty level with respect to each sections? How was the difficulty level with respect to each sections? Let me start with history. Okay, history is a difficult section for the last couple of years. The same trend continued this year also. The questions from history became difficult because UPSC has been asking the historical concepts, the names, etc., which is not that familiar. Also, in certain questions, which has some connections with current affairs, the cultural aspects, like for example, certain temples, which were recently in news, and that is connected back to its culture or history. And that is a trend there, and there are certain names which most aspirants are not that familiar. That is a trend with respect to history. But there is a change with respect to geography. So, what is the change with respect to geography? The change with respect to this year geography is that in this year, some questions connected with world geography are given some importance. World geography is given importance. But at the same time, certain questions are predictable only, like the weightage given to agriculture. The mistake committed by most aspirants with respect to geography is that they devote most of their time studying the physical geography, but in case of UPSC, they gives weightage to certain other areas like agriculture, and that is given priority. But geography emerged but the Indian geography, I don't think it is given its due importance, but more or less is touch different areas of Indian geography as well. About polity, the change has been that it's not only the political questions are not just with respect to the political organization or political system in the country, and in this year they skipped almost all the basic concepts like preamble, fundamental rights, DPSP, etc. But rather it took the higher concepts like parliament, judiciary, executive, etc. That is still relevant. That is, I mean, the organs of the state are still touched, but then the relevance is given to those concepts which are affecting the day-to-day lives of citizens, like the Environment Protection Act, the Wildlife Act, like that. Also, the other concepts, day-to-day concepts are also asked. That is also the trend in last year, and the same thing repeated this year as well. In case of economy, the questions not only tested the basic understanding of the students, but also the understanding of different aspects like not only the Indian economy, but also the different aspects connected with world economy as well. And questions from science and technology almost on the predicted lines like the concepts of science, particularly biology, also the recent technological innovations like the NFT, which I personally mentioned, like that's an important topic. So such questions are being asked. That is also in predictable lines only. Current affairs, yeah, there were a couple of current affairs questions, and current affairs is actually it was not a separate section. Like I always say, current affairs questions are connected to directly connected to static topics only. So if you properly study static topic, the most of the current affairs could have been easily answered, and the current affairs related questions were there connected with polity, connected with economy, connected with science and technology. It was there in all the areas. So that's the main or quick analysis about the paper, and I'm not giving a cutoff prediction for this paper, but the last year cutoff, as you might be knowing, for paper one, I mean the only paper one is counted for the final, for the selection in towards the mains. So the cutoff last year was 87.5 approximately out of 200, and one question was dropped last year when the final key was prepared by UPSC. So that situation may or may not happen this year, and an approximate cutoff can be in the range of 85 to 95. But the one reason that can increase the cutoff is the difficulty level of the CSAT paper. Last year CSAT paper was very difficult. This year paper may not be a match for last year CSAT paper. Comparatively, certain sections like comprehension were kind of easy this year. If that is the case, the cutoff can go up. Last year, many candidates who cleared paper 1, but they didn't clear paper 2, and that is one of the major reasons the cutoff dropped. But this year, I believe most of the aspirants started giving more seriousness to the CSAT paper, and also the paper is comparatively easy, and should be those aspirants who missed the CSAT cutoff may not be missing that this year. If that is the case, that may pull the cutoff a little up. Anyway, it can be around 90, it can be 80s, it can be 90s, it can be in the hundreds also, but nobody knows. So if you think, if you have done reasonably well to score above 80, as per any standard keys, unofficial keys, as of now the official key is not at all. What you have now is only the unofficial keys, including those of ClearIAS, and there can be some mistakes in the, I won't say mistakes, there can be variations with respect to the official key, because all the keys are very recently published, and it has there may not be much research into the key preparation. With respect to ClearIAS, what we will do is that we will take time to revise our key. An initial key is published today, but we will keep revising the key, and an updated key will be published in the coming days. Okay, but still there can be variation with respect to the official key. I will say how that happened. The variation happens because of the difference in interpretation by experts. Okay, some experts might interpret the statements in the UPSC question paper in one way, but the UPSC experts may interpret it in a different way. That is one reason. Second, different sources may indicate a different answer. For example, one book may have wordings which indicate one particular answer, and another textbook may have a wordings which indicate another answer. The same with respect to online sources. So it ultimately boils down to what the UPSC expert look into and what sources they refer. So there can be variations and there can be debate even in the final official key, but that is final. Until then, all you have is the unofficial keys published by different coaching platforms or institutes. But I would recommend you to look at some of the keys. Why I want you to do that? This is because it will give an overall idea. It may not be an accurate idea, but an overall idea regarding your exam performance. Second, it will give idea like which are the debatable questions or ambiguous questions. So that questions can be taken forward to UPSC for further evaluation. UPSC gives a window of 7 days for representation. If you think any questions have ambiguity, you can give a representation to UPSC. For that purpose also, it's a good idea to look at the UPSC question paper. But irrespective of the scores you get, you should move forward. Okay, whether or not you clear the UPSC cutoff this year, you have to move forward. That is the only way you will be successful not only in UPSC but also in life. You know what should be taken forward and what should be left behind. Maybe you can spend maybe 1 or 2 days for the regarding an analysis of the UPSC keys, but then you have to move forward. You have to take a decision in life whether are you preparing for mains 2022 or are you preparing for prelims come mains 2023. If you think you are not scoring around the 70 mark cutoff with respect to UPSC this year, I believe it's time you to take a serious step towards prelims come mains 2023. But if you are scoring around 80 or 80 above, then probably you should start preparing for mains. And this is a time for both. We don't have time to waste. And the mains 2022 date is in September this year. And the prelims date for those aspirants who will be appearing next year is May 28, 2023. So take a decision and start working from now. Do smart work. Please check clearias.com. And if you like the video, please subscribe. And if you like the video, also press the like button. If you find any debatable questions in UPSC Civil Services Exam, please do mention that in the comment section so that we can take a further look on that and when we prepare and update our key. That's all for today. We'll meet again in another day with a further detailed analysis of the paper. We'll go section wise and I will share my thoughts on the paper in the coming days. Stay tuned.